Oh,
Hello there.
hey, Paul. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Dee.
Thank you.
And I know you already, don't I, darling?
Yes, you do, Debbie, but we won't go into that right now.
No.
Oh, go on.
And there's Natalie. Hello, Natalie.
Oh, well, we haven't met, but I've heard a lot about you from the last conversation that you were having on air.
That we didn't record.
No, thank God we didn't. And we won't ever mention it again.
Oh, what a shame.
Yes. Paul, what's behind you?
Well, I'm currently appearing as the Major. Yes, I've reached that age where I now play the Major in Fawlty Towers. We opened a couple of weeks ago. We rehearsed for about 5 weeks, and we were lucky enough to have John Cleese come along and sort of co-direct it. I mean, the main direction was done by a lady who was very, very good. Caroline Ranger, her name is, and she was terrific. But obviously, John, who wrote it, sort of nuanced the whole of the rehearsal period for us. And it was great to have him along. He was a lovely man. I was a bit sort of worried about how he would be, because he comes across as being slightly austere. But in fact, he was very lovely, very nice, and extremely helpful. And I'm pleased to say that the show is doing very well. We're selling out. The audiences are laughing. I haven't heard laughter in a theatre like that for a long time. And so it all bodes very well for Fawlty Towers, I think.
Yeah. But what is behind you, Paul?
Actual script.
I'm looking up behind you in your... Are there pictures behind you?
Yeah, I'm not one of these people who has loads of pictures, but we do have a few pictures of things that I've done over the years. But not, I haven't got posters and everything, but we just got a few pictures behind me in this basement room. And just over my right shoulder, which you can't see, but I'll show it to you. Hang on, I'll get it.
Oh, good.
My wife, when I did Barnum about 20, 30 years ago, and my wife was very kind, and she went out and made a little statue of me as P.T. Barnum. I've just got an email come up. There, and here he is. And I said to her, "But darling, this is the grateful person that I am." I said, "It doesn't look anything like me." I said, "It looks more like Michael Crawford." But anyway, it was a very nice thing that she did for me. And it has pride of place behind my right ear. Hang on a second. I'll just stick it back up there. And the only other thing that I've got, a couple of nice pictures. I've got one of me and Lionel Bart, because he was a bit of a hero, Lionel Bart. He gave me an award once, a little award. I haven't won many awards, but so I've treasured that. And it's a picture of him and I receiving this gold badge award, I think they call it. So that's nice. And a few other pictures. There's a very nice picture of my dad on, it was actually a painting of my dad on the wall, which you can't see. So yeah, this is the only place that really we have those kind of things, in this basement room. So there you are.
How lovely. How lovely.
The memorabilia. Is the Fawlty Towers, is it based on any particular episodes, or is it a mixture of all kinds?
It's based on 3 episodes. It's based on the Germans, the hotel inspectors, and one other, which I can't remember what it was. But he's basically knitted those 3 episodes together to make a 2-hour play. Actually, it's about 1 hour and 40 minutes. So it's not too long. So the audience leave, feeling happy. And it just works. It just works. A lot of fans come along. I was worried that they were all going to start shouting out the lines, because they know that they all know that they all know the script probably better than we do. And but indeed, there's a fondness for that show that has rather surprised me, because it was a bit out there at the time, with all the German stuff and all that, and it's quite radical in many ways. So. But they all love it, and they obviously has a huge fan following that those shows. So it's working well.
Because there's so many things you can't say now, aren't there? You know,
Yeah, I mean, we did have to, I think the Major's character, the one that I played, had a few kind of rather on the edge remarks in those days, in the 70s, because we're talking about the 70s when it was first done. So those have been etched out. But so it's not in any way offensive, I don't think, to people in this day and age. And it still has a lot of humor that they clearly love without being offensive. So it's marvelous.
Who's playing the other people?
Adam Jackson Smith plays Basil, which was the John Cleese part. Anna Jane Casey plays Sybil, and a young, very, very good actor called Hemi, who's actually from Turkey, plays Manuel. He's I can't pronounce his surname, so that's why I haven't said it. But the guy playing Basil, Adam Jackson Smith, is unbelievable. I mean, it's like doing Hamlet. It's non-stop, it's physical, and I'm just amazed at him. He's absolutely brilliant. And if he doesn't win an award for his portrayal of Basil, I will be very surprised, because he is fantastic. Wow. And of course, you need that, because everything revolves around Basil. And so he's on all the time. I don't think there's a scene he's not in, to be honest. And if you remember that the character, he was very, very on the edge, very high pitched, and he is just wonderful in the part.
Wonderful.
Wow. With Natalie and I at the moment,
I, as the Major, just sort of drift on and drift off and have a few bits and pieces. So from a man of my years, 23 now, it's perfect. I just come on and go off, and I'm enjoying it. But the main thing is that we all love, as performers, actors, or whatever you want to call us, we all know when we're in a hit, and we are definitely in a hit. It's very gratifying, because we've all schlepped around the country in things that don't work. So to be in the West End in something that does work is an absolute joy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Although I think I found it harder to be honest in a part that comes in and out than to be in a part that stays on all the time, because I think you can get so distracted. Natalie and I are doing Calendar Girls at the moment.
Oh yes.
And we're on all the time. I mean, not like Basil, who is, but Natalie, actually, you're yattering on most of the time, aren't you? I mean, it is exhausting.
You find your level. You know that you have to rest a bit more if you're. I mean, I did Barnum, right, which I've just shown you that little statue. I had to learn to walk a wire. I had to sing. I had to dance. Michael Crawford put something, an extra thing in that was, in fact, the walking the wire was actually introduced by Jim Dale, who actually did it on Broadway.
Wow.
And obviously it was because it was about the circus. He suddenly piped up and said, oh, by the way, I can walk a wire. So thereafter, everybody who played Barnum had to walk across the stage singing the song.
How was it? Could you do it? Did it take a long time?
I did it, yeah. I mean, Crawford, I think, used to have, he never wanted to fall off ever, He kind of had a record where because it's inevitable that you will fall off. And the most I ever fallen off, I fell off 6 times. And you had to, of course, you have to go back on and complete the wire walk, because that's the end of the first act. So the orchestra have a cue. And I think the audience felt they were never going to get home, because this guy kept falling off. So I didn't worry about that anyway. I felt it built the tension. Mind you, there is a limit, of course, and you know how to use it. So I think it's quite easy, actually, just popping on and off as the Major and doing your thing.
The wire walking is a huge thing. Where did you train to do it?
I went to Las Vegas, actually,
of course.
Well, I tell you, no, the reason I went to Las Vegas is because the lady who actually taught the wire walk was an actor. She did all that. She was an acrobat and all that stuff. And she was working in a casino called Circus, which I don't think is there anymore. So I had to go to Circus and learn to walk the wire. The other thing that, of course, that Michael Crawford did that I didn't do, he he did this thing at the end of Act One. You know, where you put the thing in your mouth and you get spun around with the thing in your mouth, or you know. I said, I'm not doing that. I said, I don't mind walking by, but I'm certainly not going to stick the thing in my mouth and get swung around and round. You know, what's the point? You know, it's just pointless. So
you didn't do that.
I didn't do that. No. And I still have to taste to prove it.
I was going to say.
I had a friend of mine
Beloved.
Paul, many years ago who was in the circus, and he did lots of these things. He was there from when he was very, very young, and he did do loads of things on the trapeze and everything else. And he went to a plastic surgeon saying, I need a facelift. And the guy said, well, you know, how old are you? And he said, how old do you think I am? And he said, what, 55? And he was 30. And it's because
Really?
he'd been hanging upside down for so long.
Well, that's the
Oh
thing.
my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You know, completing the wire walk, because at the other side, he has an affair. Barnum has an affair with a Swedish nightingale who he brought from Sweden. He has an affair with her. So it's kind of symbolic. He's leaving his wife to cross to this new love. So it makes absolute sense. I don't know quite how spinning around with a thing in your gob kind of is a particularly good end to Act One, but that's personal choice, of course.
Oh my gosh. Paul, I have to tell you, I have been watching you for many, many decades. And I'm a big fan. And I know that you've returned to musical theatre. What's your big passion? What do you love doing the most?
Well, I like to be in things that work, really. You know, I'm enjoying being the major in Fawlty Towers because it works, and it works as an evening for the audience. Because at the end of the day, you know, you want to, you know, they're paying their money, and it's terribly expensive to, you know, to go to the West End. I think it's over £100 for a seat now. It's ridiculous.
Wow. Which theatre are you in?
We're in the Apollo on Shaftesbury Avenue. So it's an expensive evening out for people. So they don't want to go and see a half-baked, you know, performance or shows. And, you know, when at the end of the show, they, you know, they stand and they cheer. And it's very gratifying for us. But if you ask me what I personally like, you know, I've done lots of different things really over the years, a bit of TV, a bit of musical theatre. I just want to be in something that, as I say, that works. If you ask me what my favourite show to actually be involved in, I actually did Fiddler on the Roof. And I enjoyed that very much, playing Tedlia in that. I'm not Jewish. And the biggest compliment I ever had was a guy came back to me after the show and he said, "You pulled it off."
Well, that's because you got chutzpah, darling.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, but it was lovely to play that part. It has a lot of heart, that Fiddler on the Roof. You know, it's about family, it's about persecution, and the whole and the tradition of the Jewish faith and all that. I just loved it. So you know, I enjoyed that tremendously.
And it's
certainly
still
more than I did walking a wire in Barnum.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Do you still? I mean, what's happened to Jan Francis? Is she still around? I remember I used to be quite friendly with her at one point.
Who?
Jan Francis.
Oh, Jan. Well, Jan and I I did a tour prior to this. The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. You remember the book, and then there was a film, and then there was a play, and I did the play, and we went to Kent, Chichester, or somewhere like that, where Jan lives, and we were supposed to meet up. And for some reason, I couldn't make the lunch that we were supposed to go on. And she wrote to me and said, "You've stood me up again, you." So I said, "No, but I promised to take you. I promised to take you this summer, July of this year.
Yeah.
So I have to take her for lunch. Depends, of course."
Yeah, where you are.
That was highly successful, that series, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And
it was
you were so
brilliantly written. It
fabulous.
was written by John Sullivan, who wrote Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
He actually he had a big success with Fools and Horses, and I think his wife or someone said to him, "You can't write for women. Why don't you, you know?" And you saw this article in a magazine that's about this girl that got stood up by her boyfriend who was supposed to meet her at the church and get married. And he based the whole, he got the idea for Just Good Friends from that. And I went along and auditioned with Jan. I met Jan. I thought, oh, what a lovely girl. I'd seen her in Secret Army. Do you remember Secret Army, the TV show? And we got on very well. John Sullivan was there and Ray Buck, who was the producer, and we read a bit. And that's all right. Yeah, it's all right. So we did
a very good impression.
Yeah, we did a pilot that went very well, and thereafter, and that kind of material, as you will know, that it doesn't come along that often. Most of the time we're doing stuff that we kind of think's okay. And now and then you get something that's a bit of gold dust. And I remember coming back, I was in Cats at the time. And I came back and the script was, this pilot script of Just Good Friends. I thought, this is gold dust. I've really got to get this part. And I was lucky enough to get it. But they don't come along that often, unfortunately.
No, they don't. Did you do a TV special at Christmas? Because I remember sitting when I visited my mum at Christmas, the whole family watching an episode of it, or maybe... several.
Yeah, we did 2 Christmas specials, or maybe just one. I can't remember. Maybe 2. Yeah. They were okay. The problem I thought with them was that they didn't have an audience, and you kind of need to be encouraged to laugh. They become a little bit more removed when they're on film. Do you know what I mean? For a comedy show, I think it's very important to have an audience. So the audience at home can, not be cued to laugh, but, realise that what they're watching is probably funny.
Did you see recently, Paul, and all of us actually, in the paper, I think it was yesterday in the Mail or one of them, was saying that the controller of BBC wants more sitcoms. He wants to bring it back.
Oh, well, that's good, because I've just written one.
Oh, good. Well, you better see now. Because I've told you to take it to him now, I have to have a part in it, please.
It's done. It's a done deal.
Can we all have a part, please?
It's a done deal, Debbie. You're in it.
All right.
But we won't be in bed together in this one. We're too old. Well, I am anyway.
Well, speak for yourself, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. I'm far too old for all that shenanigans. And my wife looks at me now like I'm slightly odd if I talk about anything that's remotely sexy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Natalie, what were you saying before? Sorry, because it's quite difficult for us all of us to get in, as the actor
I was
said.
fascinated about the when an actor has to learn a skill like tightrope walking or something like that. Because my son did the Miniature Chocolate Factory version of Barnum, and he used to wait till every night they'd put the rope up and he practiced. So he ended up learning how to do it, just watching every night how it was being done. But I mean, what's the most extraordinary thing as an actor you've ever had to learn how to do? Was it that? Was it tightrope walking?
I think it was probably that. Sitcom isn't easy either, because as you probably will know, that you go in on a Tuesday, you're given a script, you then have to learn probably 50 or 60 pages maybe of dialogue. And if it's a two-hander, Jan and I did a two-hander version of Just Good Friends with no filming. And you then are in front of an audience on a Sunday night, that you don't know where they're going to laugh. You've got an idea, and you can retake. But I just found that learning lines, in a short space of time, quite difficult. Even more difficult now as I've got older. The memory is not quite as cute as it used to be, unless, of course, I'm talking about myself. And of course, everything is total recall at that point. Yes, the actors are very good at talking about themselves. It's just funnels right out there. In fact, I'm beginning to bore myself. So learning lines, I think Barnum was probably physically the most difficult thing to do. So I would probably say that both those things really are quite difficult. I've done a bit of production as well as an actor. I've produced a couple of shows over the years, and that's quite a different kind nervousness because
Yeah.
it's so expensive to put shows on these days. I mean, it's, you know, we're talking millions of pounds just to put on a musical. So that can be a bit nerve-wracking as well, I think.
Oh God.
Are your kids in the business, Paul?
I had one child who went to the Royal Academy of Music to be a musician and got his degree and all that, but now runs a B&B, so that was good. But no, none of the others have done anything. I've got a granddaughter who's at Arts Ed at the moment, so I'm hoping that she might do something. But I think I'd probably put my kids off for life, you know, just being it myself. But I'm hoping that the granddaughter may go into it. She's just done you know, her dance show or whatever they do, and I'm going to go and look at it next week. She's got a video of it, so she's the only one, I think.
Arts Ed is brilliant. It's a really good school.
Yeah, it is a good school, very good, and the standard. I mean, I have been to see shows there, and it's a very, very high standard, and they're very good. My son has just, and we should mention this. My son has just come up with this TV channel called Rewind TV.
Oh, it's your son.
Oh goodness, yes.
Yeah, he's my son. His name is Oscar Buselink.
Why is he called Oscar Buselink? Is that really your name?
Well, my name is Paul Buselink, really.
Is it?
My father, who's on the wall, was called Oscar Buselink. His father was called Oscar Buselink, and my middle name is Oscar. So we're such a creative family. Yeah.
And Paul, if you wanted, if you know anything you want to do next, is there anything that you want to tell us about that, or aspire to even?
Yes.
Well,
we're going to come and see you.
Oh, good. But don't tell me when you're in. I hate knowing when anybody's in.
Okay.
I can't bear knowing when there are people in. As I said, I've written this sitcom, which I can't really tell you about because I don't want to give the idea around. I've written, in fact, written two, and you know, having heard what you said about they want more sitcoms, maybe this is a good time to.
Yeah, he said he wanted to go back to how sitcoms were, and you know how Johnny Sullivan started. You know, he's a scene shifter.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
and you know, he was just so brilliant, and now we just need something. It's just I was in so many of them, and I miss them. I miss the genre. I used to love it. I used to love the fact. For me, it had everything because you were on television, but you were also doing a show because you had an audience. So it was like
exactly,
it was everything.
Exactly. Well, that's what's wonderful about the Fawlty Towers, and why it works so well. You can tell there's a clamouring for a good British farce. You can tell in the audience that they really want it. You know, they hear the music and they start to applaud. You know, the music that goes with Fawlty Towers. So there is a willingness. For people to laugh, and they want to laugh at themselves to some degree because it's a very English show, and it's a very English humour, and they really identify it. You can hear that they really want it and love it. So we're very lucky.
Well, we'll be there to see you. Thank you, Paul, for being the most fantastic guest. Bye, Paul.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Pause Live, the UK's largest menopause event. Get solutions to your symptoms. Meet over 70 brands. And laugh out loud at our live stage. Plus, free taster sessions in our wellness hub. Come and connect with your tribe. Tickets are from just $10.99. Get your sparkle back and head over to pauselive.com.